Hello, welcome to Hattie Talks. Today is a Tuesday, which means it's time for Turn Back Time Tuesdays. This is where we talk about a historical figure or a historical event that particularly interests me and I hope interests you too. This week is going to be a little bit different though, because it has been requested by two of my subscribers, James and Oliver, that I talk about, instead of a figure or event, I talk about some famous brands. These brands include drinks, footwear, and then I also have some fun facts at the end about a range of different famous brands. All of the information I will be talking about I have found online on websites that I will link in the description. I must say at the beginning that this is mostly alleged information. I have done my research, but I'm mainly just covering myself because I don't want to be sued, because if any of these big brands come for me, which I doubt they will because I only have like 35 subscribers, but if any of them did, then I cannot afford to be sued by them. So this is a little disclaimer that this is all alleged. But if you want to do some more research, as I said, I've added the links in the description so you can check them out. If you like this video, please do subscribe and like and comment if you have any requests that you'd like me to talk about. I would just like to say that I am based in England and it is raining quite heavily right now, so I'm really sorry if you can hear it. So let's get started. So we're going to start off with sports shoes. Adolf Dassel returned home from fighting in World War I to Germany and started making sports shoes in his mother's laundry room. His brother Rudolf joined the business and they called themselves the Dassel Brothers Shoe Factory. They began to develop spiked running shoes, swapping heavy metal studs for studs made out of materials like rubber and canvas. And as you can imagine, this improved the wearer's performance. In 1936, Jesse Owens, a US sprinter, wore these new rubber canvas shoes in the Olympics. And after he won 4 gold medals, the Dassler brothers were officially on the map. And business boomed. As I said at the beginning, the brands I'm going to be talking about today are famous brands. And unfortunately, a lot of these famous brands have connections to the Nazi Party. And the Dassler brothers were no different. Both brothers had connections to the Nazi Party, and during World War II, the factory stopped making shoes and started making anti-tank weapons. In 1945, the US forces came and were going to destroy the factory, and it was Adolf's wife who convinced them they're just making shoes, they're nothing to do with the war, and in the end, these US GIs actually bought a lot of these shoes and supported the business, not realising, of course, that they had actually been involved with the Nazi Party. So the business was going well, but the relationship between the two brothers was not. We're not actually sure why they fell out so hard. Some people say that it's because Rudolf, who was considered the more good-looking of the two brothers, slept with Adolf's wife. Other people say that they had an argument over who actually invented screw-in studs for soccer boots, and some say it was to do with the war and their political disagreements. Whatever the cause, the brothers split up. Rudolf leaves the business and Adolf changes the business's name, taking his nickname and the first 3 letters of his surname, which made Adidas. Adidas was formed. And I know some of you Americans, if you're watching, will say Adidas, but I'm English, so I'm going to say Adidas. So what happened to Rudolf? Did he just melt into history? Did he just accept defeat and watch his brother grow? No. He also went out and started a new footwear brand, which is now known as Puma. So the brothers had rival companies, and the town that they came from was just as divided. The 2 football groups each supported one footwear brand, so they would literally be against each other in every way. And plumbers or handymen would go to Rudolph's house purposefully wearing his brother's shoes. And when they arrived, Rudolph would say, no, go downstairs into his basement and help yourself to a free pair of Puma shoes just so that you're not wearing Adidas. So it was quite good for them, and they'd start purposefully wearing the wrong shoes to the wrong brothers because then they'd get free shoes. Which, I mean, why not make the most of it? The pair never made up, and although they are buried in the same cemetery, they are literally on opposite sides of it, so they're as far away as possible. So, that's a fun fact about Adidas and Puma. Moving on, let's start talking about some drinks brands. Lucazade! Not sponsored. Lucazade was created in 1927 by a pharmacist from Newcastle, England, called William Walker Hunter. At that time it was called Lucazade, and it was largely made up from glucose, hence the name, and was marketed as a drink for the sick. In 1929, the G was removed from the name and it became Lucazade. It was then bought by a pharmaceutical company called Beecham's in 1938. Lucazade's slogan was Lucazade aids recovery. It was mostly sold in pharmacies all the way up until mid-1990s. It was in 1978 that it was rebranded as a pick-me-up and a sports drink. By then you could even buy it in a tablet form. Even my dad says he can still remember feeling sick and under the weather and his mum, my nan, going out and buying him a bottle of Lucozade to help him get better, almost as if it was Calpol or even slightly medicinal. Even I, when I feel sick or not great, I find myself buying a Lucozade because sometimes you just need a bit of sugar. But obviously there's no paracetamol or actual medicine in it. It's just the sugar and a bit of placebo effect. Anyway, moving on. Moving on to another drinks brand, which I don't have the bottle of, so sorry. A Confederate colonel, John Pemberton, was wounded in the American Civil War, and he ended up having to take morphine, which he eventually got addicted to. Since he has a medical degree, he decided to try and find a solution for his addiction, maybe a substitution. So he created in 1885 Pemberton's French wine Coca. It combined coca, damiena, and cola nut. The cola nut provided caffeine, and coca is short for cocaine, which is a mix of cocaine and alcohol. To open more of a target audience, I guess, he then developed a non-alcoholic version, which was known as, you guessed it, Coca Cola. And like Lucozade, this drink was also mostly sold in pharmacies. It apparently had healing powers to heal a headache or however you're feeling. And yeah, so they're my big kind of juicy information stories. There are lots more if you would like, but I'm busy moving out this week, so this is a bit of a shorter one. I'm sorry about that. But I will leave you with some more interesting facts. These are shorter ones, but you can look into it. Again, every fact that I've mentioned, I'm saying fact, but it is all alleged because I don't want to get sued. So here we go. Here's some little nuggets of information for you to take home with you. Let's go. Number 1, Nike, the shoe brand, has 2 main pronunciations. So European people say Nike, and I believe American people say Nike. But Nike is actually named after the Greek goddess of victory, whose name I believe is actually pronounced Nike, I think. All I know is that Nike and Nike are actually wrong if you're talking about the Greek goddess, but the Nike brand have come out and said that they call it Nike. So we're just wrong. I'll admit we're wrong. I don't know, I just thought that was quite interesting. Number 2, the Queen of England apparently owns a McDonald's that's near Buckingham Palace. Just the one, but she owns it, which is pretty cool. Liz going out in the morning to get her bacon and egg McMuffin. You go, girl. Carlsberg, the beer, originally had a swastika as the logo, which meant prosperity and good luck. But obviously, the Nazi party ruined it, so they changed it. And lastly, the last little nugget of information I have is that Kellogg's cornflakes has an odd beginning. Kellogg's cornflakes was produced as it was thought that plain food would suppress the urge to masturbate. And it was marketed as healthy, ready to eat, anti-masturbatory morning meal. Random. But anyway, so now you know why you're eating Kellogg's cornflakes in the morning. If that particularly interested you, if you have any brands you'd like me to look into, if you have any people or events you'd like me to talk about, please do comment them below. I have had some requests, including another video about Hamilton and also a video about where I'm from, which is the Isle of Wight. And luckily I'm from the Isle of Wight and there's a ton of history there. We've got Carisbrooke Castle, we've got quite a lot of Roman and Viking history, so I will be doing one of them soon, so keep an eye out for that. As I said, please like and subscribe so you can see them, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. I think this one is going to be a bit shorter. I won't know until I've actually edited it, of course. I just think it's interesting what marketing and an ability to adapt can do. For instance, if you think of a marker pen, you probably think of Sharpie. If you think of a vacuum cleaner, you probably think of Hoover, which, I don't know, it just interests me. So if there's any that you can think of, I know that Hugo Boss and Louis Vuitton, there's quite some interesting things about that. So just comment them in the comment section. Yeah, have a nice rest of the week and thank you for joining me. Bye.